Hey guys, welcome back. My name is Katie and today I wanted to talk about my top 10 most influential books in my life to this day. This is just also a little disclaimer. A lot of these books are actually going to end up being series, but what can you do? So I'm just going to hold up my top 10, give a short explanation as to why, and yes, let's just get started. First books that I ever read, or actually was read to as a child, were the Berenstain Bears books. And they are kids books, they are picture books, and they're absolutely fantastic. Would recommend to any of you that have to babysit or have kids or little cousins or whatever. These books cover such a wide variety of topics. The illustrations are great. This is a series by Stan and Jan Berenstain, and I believe one of them died recently within the past few years, so I don't think they are making any new books. But there's like 60 or so of the originals, and my mom read these to me when I was a kid. They were the first books that I pretended to read. You know, when you're a kid and you memorize the story and you pretend you can read. That's for those books, and I owe everything to my love of reading to these kids books, and they're absolutely fantastic. Along those same lines, this book influenced me both as a child and also as I've reread it when I'm older, and that is The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein. Any of Shel Silverstein's poetry is absolutely fantastic. It's a great introduction to poetry for me, but the Giving Tree story just stuck with me and still to this day sticks with me, and I absolutely love it so much. I always think about it. The next book or book series, but specifically this book that influenced me when I was in 5th grade, I can remember the day that it happened, and it was The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis. We were doing out loud reading time with our teacher, and she would read us, I think usually only like 1 or 2 chapters a day after lunch, and we were reading a bunch of books, but when we read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, I got so enthralled that I tried to bribe my teacher into letting me take the book home so I could read ahead. She did not let me, but I was obsessed, and this is also the beginning of my obsession with fantasy and fantastical elements and wanting to be in a world that was different from this one. And that leads me on to the next series, which is a pretty obvious choice, and I think it's so amazing how it's influenced so many people, and that is going to be Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I read these so many times, I cannot even begin to explain. I'm sure that at least half of you guys that watch this video understand how I feel about Harry Potter and how protective and cherishing and amazing this book makes me feel. Like, I still listen to podcasts about Harry Potter, about theories and different things that are going on in this world, and it's absolutely fantastic. Can't even put into words how influential these books have been on my life. The next book that is my favorite book, I always switch between 2 of these books on my list, aside from series like Harry Potter. My absolute favorite books are here with me right now, and one of them is The Book Thief by Markus Zusak. This book I read in 8th grade, I think when I was 13 or 14. I might have been a freshman in high school, and the writing style and the story was just heartbreaking, and it was one of the first books that really made me feel a whole range of emotions, and I absolutely adore it. And I've read this book only twice. I've only read it twice, and the first time I read it was in 8th grade, and it stuck with me to be my favorite book from then. And it's absolutely fantastic, and I force everyone that I meet to read it because I love it that much. And that brings me to my next book that I always say is my favorite, absolute favorite, which I read when I was a freshman in high school, and that is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. This book is one of the first classics that I really enjoyed when I was reading at school. It was one of the first books that I had to read for school that I absolutely adored. I loved writing papers about it. This story is just so rich and complex, and it touches on themes that are so deep and interwoven and societal, and it still holds up to this day, and I absolutely adore it. This book has influenced how I see people and how I see goodness and badness and moral grayness, and it's just absolutely fantastic. And every few years I have to kind of have a mental reality check when I read this book, because it really brings you back. It really brings me back into, you know, sort of the mental state that I want to be in because of this book. The next book that is on this list I don't actually have a copy of with me right now, and I need to remedy that, and that is Looking for Alaska by John Green. And I read this when I was a junior in high school, and that was just the time when I was trying to figure out who I was trying to be different, and I was trying to find myself. And I know that sounds cliche, but I think everyone goes through that, where they think they know themselves in high school, and then, you know, you hit your later years in high school and you really don't know yourself. And I read Looking for Alaska, which was my first John Green book. There's so many good quotable lines, and just like he captures the mentality of being that age so well, and it shaped me so much as a person and how I think about other people, and it was just the perfect time in my life for me to read that book, and it will always be one of my favorites, and it will always, I think, be on this list of top 10 most influential books. The next one on this list is going to be The Hunger Games, or The Hunger Games Trilogy by Suzanne Collins. I read this in high school when it first came out, and I honestly am a little bit proud of being a hipster Hunger Games fan, and this was my introduction to dystopian worlds and to this sort of political agendas and the depth that young adult literature can cover, other than just the fantasy world that I was stuck in or the contemporary fluffiness. This kind of opened me up to the expanse of young adult literature. As much as I thought I was reading, you know, widely, this kind of opened up a whole new doors for me, and I just love it. I don't know how else to say how this book has influenced me, but I absolutely love it. Next book on my list is going to be The Likeness by Tana French. Really anything by Tana French is going to be on this list, because Tana French's writing is absolutely phenomenal, and she has introduced me to a whole new genre of adult fiction and character writing, and her writing makes me want to write, which is one thing that I think is absolutely fantastic. If a writer can do that, is make someone else not only want to read and devour their stories, but also want to write these complex and amazing rich characters. And Tana French has really opened me up to that sort of thinking and that sort of writing, and I absolutely adore her books. She's my favorite author, one of my favorite authors, and I really need her to write more books. The last book on this list is going to be A Game of Thrones, or the Song of Ice and Fire series by George R.R. Martin. These books, I don't even know how much I can tell you these books have influenced me. The characters are so insane, and they make me want to theorize about what's going on in the world, and it's opened me up to adult fantasy, thinking about how big these books are, and it's just opened me up to read something so massive and intimidating and rich and deep and complex, and it's just influenced who I am as a person and my favorite characters, and it's really helped me evolve as a person. And I don't really know if that's the right word, but it's absolutely fantastic. I love these books so much, and they've changed my life. So that is it for my top 10 most influential books. I want to know what some of your most influential books are. Let me know in the comments down below. I will see you guys soon with another video soon. Goodbye!